This is an explanation of how to take word problems and write equations in slope-intercept form. Hopefully we remember that slope-intercept form looks like y equals mx plus b. We know that the m is slope, but when it comes to word problems, it's going to be more the rate of change. And when you see words like per, or each, or every, you know that's referring to the rate of change. That b is the y-intercept. Usually when it comes to word problems, you'll see the word initial, okay, or the starting value. And you know that's the y-intercept. Now when we do these word problems, instead of saying y and x, we're probably going to have other variables that represent the things that we're talking about. And then keep in mind that m and that b are actually going to be numbers. So for each of the word problems, you need to identify what information you're given, and if you're not given something, you need to figure out how you're going to find it. Now example 1 says it involves no work. Okay, it's the easiest type of question because everything is given to you. It says the initial fee, I like that, so I'm going to underline it. So the initial fee to have a website set up using a server is $48, and it costs $44 per month to maintain the website. Write an equation that gives the total cost C of setting up and maintaining a website as a function of the number of months M it is maintained. So before you start actually trying to figure things out, it's sometimes helpful to write down what is my input and what is my output. Because if you identify what variables are your inputs and outputs, you'll know where to put them in terms of y equals mx plus b. Okay, here the input is going to be the months, which is m, because when you plug in the number of months, that's what's going to give you the total cost, which is c. So months is kind of like our x, and the cost, c, is kind of like our y. We also know that the initial fee is $48. That's going to be our y-intercept. And it's 44 per month. That's going to be our rate of change or slope. So our equation, we're just going to take everything and plug it in. Instead of saying y equals, in this case we're going to say c equals 44 times the number of months, which is m, plus the initial fee, which is 48. So that is our answer. For number 2, this one involves a little bit more work. It says our gym membership costs $33 per month after an initial membership fee. You paid a total of $228 after 6 months. Write an equation that gives the total cost C as a function of the length of your gym membership in M months. Now in this case, it tells us the $33 per month. So we know the rate of change, we know the slope. However, it doesn't tell us what the initial membership fee is. It tells us there is one, but it doesn't give it to us. So this is one where we know the slope, but we don't know that b. So we're going to have to find a way to figure it out. So before we start again, I'm going to identify what's my input and what's my output. Okay, well, are you going to plug in the cost to figure out the number of months, or are you going to plug in the number of months to figure out the cost? I think that makes more sense. So our input is m for months, and our output is c for cost. Okay, so now we need another ordered pair. Okay, that's how we solve these questions. We had an m, we had an x, and we had a y, and we plugged them in, and we figured out the b. So we need an ordered pair. And it comes from this $228 for 6 months. If I took that and write it as an ordered pair, since the input, which is the x, is really the number of months, my input's going to be 6, and my output, which is the cost, would be 228. So I took this information and wrote it as an ordered pair. And now I can plug things in to y equals mx plus b. Okay, so in this case my y is from my ordered pair, so that's 228. My m is from the question, so that was 33. And my x is 6. So I plug everything else in, I'm going to figure out what that b equals. So I get 228 equals 198 plus b, When I subtract 198 from both sides, I figure out that b equals 30. So now I need to write my final equation. I know I said y equals mx plus b before, but I am going to actually plug in my correct variables now instead of x and y. So instead of saying y, I'm going to say c equals, the rate of change was 33, so it's 33 each month, so 33m. And then we figured out that that initial membership fee is that 30. So that is my equation. And the last one that involves slightly more work, okay, where really you're not given a whole lot of information. It says in bicycle motocross, BMX racing, racers purchase a 1-year membership to a track. Okay. They also pay an entry fee for each race at that track. One racer paid a total of $125 after 5 races, and a second racer paid a total of $170 after 8 races. We're going to write an equation that gives the total cost C as a function of the number of races that were entered. Okay, so let's decide input-output. In this case, we are inputting the number of races, which is R, and we're figuring out the cost, which is C. But in this case, we know there's a fee for each race. We don't know what it is. And we know there's a 1-year membership, and we don't know what it is. For these types of questions, we needed 2 ordered pairs. So we're going to use our information to pull out those 2 ordered pairs. The first one's coming from this $125 after 5 races. To write that as an ordered pair, since races is my input, it's going to be 5, 125. And the other information says it's $170 after 8 races. So that's going to be 8, 170. And now that I created these 2 ordered pairs, I'm going to find the slope. So subtract your y's, subtract your x's. So I'm going to do 170 minus 125 over 8 minus 5. That gives me 45 over 3, which is 15. So I know the rate of change, that's how much it's going to cost for each race at the track. But now I need to know what is my Y-intercept, really what is that 1-year membership fee. So I'm going to plug something in to y equals mx plus b. Remember, it does not matter which ordered pair you use. I'm looking at this, I like the ones with the smaller numbers, so that's what I'm going to use. So my y value is 125. We just figured out that the m is 15. The corresponding x that I'm using is 5. And I don't know the b yet. 15 times 5 is 75. And when I subtract 75 from both sides, I figured out that b equals 50. And now I know all my information, so let's plug everything in. My output is C, so it's going to start with C equals. It was $15 for each race, so it's 15R. And that initial membership fee, that Y-intercept, is 50. And that is my equation. Okay, so for each of these going forward, figure out if you know your rate of change. Okay, figure out if you know your Y-intercept. And then you're going to create ordered pairs if you're missing some information, plug things into that y equals mx plus b, and find your missing stuff.